Hello and welcome to this edition of The Guys, your place for fantasy football analysis and expertise. I'm your host, the Fantasy Doctor. With me as always, The Guys. To my right, Big Red, Mr. Mark Down.
How we doing?
To his right, the smartest man on the panel, the Professor, Mr. Ryan Nault.
Hello, everybody.
To my left, I like to hit him with the hind. There was better moments there, but the Professor. To my left, a man who paints in fantasy anger, the artiste, Mr. Jay Greenwald.
Welcome and go green.
And to his left, the Canadian Bacon, Mr. Kyle Marchand.
Hey, welcome, guys. Let's have a good week.
And the person who's going to keep us refreshed and looking prettier than the rest of us will ever be, Miss Bianca.
What's going on?
Guys, let's start the show. Bianca, what's first?
Favorite parts, studs of the week.
Studs of the week. Professor, I'm going to start with you. Who smoked it for you in week 4?
I'm going to talk about a guy that a couple weeks ago, everybody liked the dog, Mr. Matt Ryan. Once again, great performance, 500 yards, 4 touchdowns. That makes 11 touchdowns on the year versus just 2 interceptions. Again, his name's Matt Ryan. Remember him.
He has been an absolute...
Could you spell that?
He has been an absolute monster. And I would like to take a moment to give some credit to the Professor, because this is a guy that a lot of guys... I mean, we talked about Phillip Rivers, who has had an amazing first quarter of the season. And it's amazing to me, guys, that the first quarter of the season is already gone. 25% of the season is already gone. But we did talk a lot about Phillip Rivers, and we were all high on Phillip Rivers, and we're proud of that accomplishment that Phillip has had an amazing first quarter. But the guy that was really high on Matt Ryan, the rest of us thought the guy we're ready to put him out the pasture, was the Professor, and Matt Ryan had a beast of a first quarter. Let's kick it to you, Big Red. Your stud of the week.
Yeah, I'm going to circle back to the same style. DeMarco Murray. We've been pimping DeMarco Murray on this side of the panel for a couple weeks now. I know some folks think that Derrick Henry is eventually going to take that job, and he still might. But he put up 119 yards, 2 touchdowns against a fantastic Houston defense. It's a Houston defense without J.J. Watt, which obviously is a huge step back. But, I mean, the guy's catching it. The guy's running the football. He's averaging 5.2 yards a carry. I mean, he's top 4 in the league in terms of yards per carry on a team that's not really winning. So I think this is a guy, as soon as Mariota decides he's going to play like a first-round pick, he's a guy that the sky's moving up for him. So I think he's a guy that is looking great.
Yeah, no, I love the Big Red. And I was one of the guys down on DeMarco Murray. I did think Derrick Henry was going to take that job. I'm a little surprised at DeMarco's resurgence. I mean, the guy looks like a major beast, and Henry looks like an afterthought at this point. Let's kick it to you.
I'm going to have to go with Jordan Reed. Jordan Reed, a guy that huge week last week, and a guy that there were huge expectations, but we all know that doesn't always translate. You know, we got some guys that so far are kind of shit in the bed at this point, and Jordan Reed came through huge last week, and you know, like I say, living up to expectations, and I like him going forward as well.
Yeah, and Jordan Reed is one of the guys. A lot of leagues, people avoid tight ends. I know in one of my leagues we avoid tight ends. The other league, tight ends, and a standard league, tight ends become a little bit. And Jordan Reed is one of those guys. Jordan Reed, if he's not on your team, go get him. I don't care if you just need wide receivers. Go get Jordan Reed. He's going to have a monster rest of the way. Canadian Bacon, you're up.
I'm going to go off the board a little bit. Michael Crabtree. I mean, a guy who everyone thought was going to be maybe a veteran presence, depth wide receiver in Oakland, having a monster year. I mean, everyone thought Amari Cooper was going to be the number 1 guy. This guy, 88 yards, 3 TDs. Seems to be Derek Carr's favorite go-to guy in the red zone and is catching everything for touchdowns. Unbelievable first quarter. I think you can target him because most people still don't realize the season he's putting up if they're not paying attention.
Yeah, and excuse me, that's the other thing to look at, guys. A lot of these people are still flying under the radar. Don't let them fly under your radar. You're watching this show for a reason. We're going to tell you guys to target, and we're going to wake you up to guys that maybe your league hasn't woken up to. Michael Crabtree, definitely one of those guys. A monster start. And, you know, he's a guy he's been on everybody's radar the last several seasons. For whatever reason, in this offense, he's dropped off. and he's had a great start to the season. I love it, CB. Great comment. Bianca, we're moving on. What's next?
I think we got the toilet bowl coming up.
Toilet bowl.
Guys
Toilet bowl. Guys that did not do well last week, and we're going to flush them. Your excrement. We'll start with you, Professor. Who you flushing?
I hate to say it because I really do love the guy, great talent, but DeAndre Hopkins. He just hasn't been doing it this year. Last week, again, 6 targets, only 1 reception. And we've talked earlier, his counterpart, Will Fuller, a guy, if you don't have him, I mean, if your league doesn't know about him, I don't know how they don't, but obviously pick him up. But
yeah, that's a bad league. If you're not knowing about Will Fuller, first of all, you're not watching our show the way you should, and that's a bad league. But I agree, Professor. DeAndre Hopkins underperforming at this point.
Certainly.
Anybody else you want to flush, or just DeAndre?
Well, he's my main one. Matt Forte, he disappointed. I know he got banged up last week as well, but another 14 rushes, 27 yards, averaging less than 2 yards a carry. He did get banged up again, but he still had the 14 carries. He should be back this week, and but he's gonna start sharing carries. I think his age is starting to show, so kind of watch out for Forte.
And there's an ankle problem there. I mean, he is injured. I do think that their approach to him at the beginning of the season was never going to work. He was going to be the workhorse. They're talking about giving the guy 31 carries a game or something ridiculous. Nobody, a young buck, a rookie, can't hold up to that kind of workload, and certainly not a 31-year-old Matt Forte. I like that. Big Red, you're up. Toilet bowl, who you flushing?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it a couple weeks ago, and again, I'm gonna catch all kinds of heck for this one. But Matthew Stafford, dream matchup against the Bears, right? And I feel like
I think this end of the panel might have told you to get rid of that.
You guys could lean a little harder and kind of balance it out a little bit. As a Lions fan, I feel like Charlie Brown, and Stafford is like Lucy holding the football. And I believe that this time's going to be the time. And I run up there and land straight on my ass again. And along with Stafford, to add to it, agreed. I think it's time to talk about the golden dressmaker. I mean, it's about time to just lay it out there and say, Marvin Jones is clearly the number one, and Golden Tate, 1 catch for 1 yard. How are those threads looking over there, RG?
I'm going to probably wear like a little strapless number.
Yeah, I think so.
That's fine.
And look forward to tuning in for that, because we're all going to look forward to that. I will say this, Marvin Jones, clearly the number 1 wide receiver in Detroit, and a great fantasy pickup. If you have Marvin Jones on your team, you're looking really well. Detroit is one-dimensional. Once again, they can only throw the football. They can't run the football. Even with Washington, they're done. They have to throw the football, and they don't even do that well week to week. But the one guy who's going to be the stud on that team is Marvin Jones. And I think if he's available, a guy you should trade for. Artis, we're kicking it to you. Your toilet bowl. Who's your excrement?
I have to go with Carson Palmer. The guy, last season in the playoffs, he sucked. Okay, and I know he had a finger injury, or so they say, whatever. He was brutal. I mean, brutal. And I thought it was the finger thing. He seems to be apparently healthy now until he got concussed, but he was awful last week. I think he's had 1 really nice week, and other than that, he's not been this good. And he's awful last week, just absolutely awful, throwing picks. He's just not that good.
I think the panel will agree with me. The Cardinals are a different team all of a sudden.
They are.
This was a team that we thought would contend for playoffs and maybe the Super Bowl. They were a high-powered offense, amazing defense. This year they look incredibly inept.
Different
on
team.
all sides of the special teams, offense, defense, coaching. Right. They just look inept. And I agree with you. Carson Palmer looks like a guy that it might be time to hang up the spikes.
Yeah.
Kick it to you, Canadian Bacon. Your toilet bowl. Who are you flushing this week?
I'm going to go back to where we started week 1. I will reiterate, I do not like Seattle's offense. And with that, I'm going to throw Doug Baldwin down the drain, man. Russell Wilson, again, somehow pieces together 300 yards. Doug Baldwin sees the ball 4 times for 50 yards. He's supposed to be the number 1 there. he doesn't look like it. I don't know what's going on. Jimmy Graham suddenly looks like a decent play, but Doug Baldwin looks terrible. I don't like that offense going forward. They can't run the ball consistently. I've had questions about if they can pass the ball effectively enough. It seems like they get – last week they got 3 extra possessions because Ryan Fitzpatrick continues to turn the ball over, and he still can't find the end zone. Something's going on, and he's definitely way down for me.
Yeah, that's a team in reverse. I don't know what happened to Seattle. We just talked about Arizona taking a step back. Arizona, perennial playoff contender. I feel like Seattle's done the same thing, guys. Seattle's taken a huge step backwards. They no longer have a running game. They had beast mode the last several years. Rawls has proven to be ineffective. This is a team who also is not even playing defense well. Their defensive numbers, fantasy-wise, Seattle used to be a number 1 pick on defense in fantasy. No longer. Their defensive numbers middle of the pack this year, guys. So from a fantasy standpoint, I'm almost ready to give up on Seattle. I don't see any upside there. I see a lot of negatives. If you have them on your team, I would trade your Seattle Seahawks. Miss Bianca, we're moving on.
We are. Starts and sits. What do we
Starts-
got, ladies?
Start, sits. And Bianca, a shout out to all of you ladies watching our show. All 3 of you, or 2 of you, or
Both of you.
or 1 of you. But welcome to the show. It's going to be a good one. Start, sits, guys. I want both. I'm going to start with you. I'm going to go this way. Canadian Bacon. CB, your starts and sits of the week.
Start of the week, I'm going to go with T.Y. Hilton versus Chicago. That offense seems to be clicking on all cylinders. Their defense is terrible in Indy, but for some reason, T.Y. Hilton, Dorsett, all those guys seem to be catching the ball like crazy. Chicago's defense was supposed to be terrible. Matt Stafford made him look decent, but I still think that's a good matchup. Sit this week, Lamar Miller. Not that I have anything against Lamar Miller. He's been a pretty good fantasy start, but Minnesota's defense has been an absolute stud this year. The single reason they're 4-0, they've lost everybody. Quarterbacks, running backs. That defense has shown up and decided they're going to be the best in the league.
Yeah, and you mentioned Matt Stafford, which makes me think of their offensive coordinator, Jim Bob Cooter. Good Lord, folks. Eventually you'll get it.
That's pretty
I
cool.
had comments on
Listen,
you, CB, but I was trying to get into Jim Bob Kidder thing, and once again, the artiste slow on the roll. But artiste, you're up. Your start sits. We'll get there.
I was kind of close. I mean, not right on, clearly, but kind of close.
30 seconds late. That's
Sure.
close.
Right in that ballpark.
Good.
Maybe next time.
Yeah, next time's good. Well, all right. Well, for the start of the week, this is like a no-brainer. Zach Ertz will score like 9 touchdowns against the Lions. The Lions can't defend a tight end. Philadelphia is going off.
9. I think
They're-
if you
they're-
start
they're
on
all-
him, you might win this week.
Yeah,
9.
he could carry your team. He seriously could carry your team, though. All right, 9's an exaggeration, but 8 I see maybe.
I'm worried.
Seriously.
I'm worried what Miss Bianca is putting in his cup.
Right,
With
sure.
9, but
I don't know.
But artiste, please
Expound,
continue to enlighten us.
if you will. I just
Expound.
expound and expand. Listen, no, he's a good tight end. That offense is rolling. The Lions suck. They can't defend a tight end to save their life. He's going to have a monster week. It's just that simple. As far as a sit of the week, I'm going to have to go with. Well, all right. Let me put it this way. I don't know that I can call it a true sit because I have the guy on my team, and you can't really. He's my number 1 pick, so I can't really truly sit him. I want to sit him, but I won't sit him.
What
and
if you're down on him, brother? Let's talk
it's
about it.
DeAndre Hopkins again because of the trend that's going on and the fact that the matchup and shit this week. I worry about him.
Well, and he's been a huge disappointment.
He has been.
Professor
He has been.
expounded on that earlier. DeAndre
Sure.
Hopkins has been an absolute nightmare. And most guys took him in the first round. Everybody's been wide receiver heavy this year in drafts. It became the thing to do, right? Wide receivers, no running backs. We talked about it in the show 2 months ago. A lot of guys took DeAndre Hopkins in the 4th or 5th pick of their draft, and he's been an absolute nightmare. Big Red, let's kick it to you. Starts and sits this week.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we're looking at quarterbacks, I really like Eli Manning versus Green Bay. This is a guy who's probably going to have to throw it 40 times to even compete. I don't see them running the football very much, and he's got some weapons outside that gives him some great options. On the flip side, I think your boy this week is a sit. Matt Ryan versus Denver. I think this is the week you just say, listen, the guy has been an absolute monster, but you don't play anybody against Denver. And I'm also sitting Osweiler versus Minnesota for the same reason. These are the two defenses that used to be, like Seattle used to be. When you have guys, I don't care what round you drafted them in, you sit them. You're sitting Hopkins, you're sitting Matt Ryan. You're probably going to play Julio because you don't have anybody better. But if you can find some other guys outside of that, I'd like Wentz versus Detroit and Flacco against Washington. If Matt Ryan's your starter, I'm probably picking up one of those other two guys as a start instead.
And Big Red, I like what you did there. Fantasy football is about matchup, guys. Don't fall in love with a certain player. Most of the time, if it's your first round draft pick, you're going to play him. I always, and I think the panel will agree, play your studs, but play matchups, because matchups are the key to winning, not just throughout the regular season, but in particular throughout the playoffs.
Correct.
When you have guys, you need to play the matchup, who they have that week, and what's going to happen there. Now, in this situation, I do like Matt Ryan this week. I don't care who's playing Denver. The guy's been a stud. He and Julio have this, like, Jedi Force thing going on. It's pretty amazing, and I like both of them. I like Matt Ryan, 290 this week, 2 scores, and Julio 110 yards and a score. I would play Matt Ryan this week. But Big Red, that's why we do the show. I like what you said, and next week, one of us will talk about it. Professor, finish us up. Start sits.
Well, I'd like to just kind of expand on the Giants here, just slightly, but a different angle. As Big Red mentioned, Eli's a great start against a banged-up, terrible Green Bay secondary. But who I would sit was any running back in the Giants' backfield. Green Bay, they have given up the fewest fantasy points to running backs this year. Don't want to start any of those guys. Eli is going to pass. You want to start the receivers. As far as like my start of the week, I got to give it to you, Big Red. I'm starting to become a believer. C.J. Anderson. The guy's getting 20 touches a game. Just by sheer quantity, he's going to rack up points. And he gets to play against a lower-tiered Falcons defense.
Yeah, C.J. Anderson has absolutely been a monster so far. Big Red called him before even our first draft show. And great call. He has been an absolute monster to this point. No reason to think, unless he gets injured, he wouldn't finish this season with amazing numbers. Great fantasy pick if you have C.J. Anderson. So, Professor, tell me, are you still in love with OBJ? I mean, you mentioned the Giants. The first thing that jumps in my mind is the Beckham debacle is what I'll call it.
He's my third favorite Giants receiver right now. I like Sterling Shepard and Victor Cruz better. OBJ, he's getting the double teams sometimes, but he's a nutcase. He's got to concentrate on playing football, making catches, and being friends with his quarterback. He's doing none of that. He's out there. He's wild. I have him on my team, and I want to get rid of him, but I want to get somebody decent for him.
And this week, OBJ said, I'm no longer having fun.
Right.
After another explosion in which he said, nobody gets in my head except for he ran around like the little kid and threw a fit. Quick hitter. I let Professor go, but quick hitter down the row. Are you still happy if you have OBJ? Big Red.
I'm an absolute buyer on OBJ. Chad Johnson, Terrell Owens, all head cases, all produced. He's had some suspect weeks, but we know those numbers are coming. I'm still expecting at least 9 or 10 touchdowns, and there's only 3 quarters of this season left, which means you're getting some monster numbers on the way.
I like what you did there. Most wide receivers, the studs, are head cases, so nothing new there. Artiste, OBJ, you buying, you selling, you?
I guess I'm selling. I mean, it's close. The thing is, Big Red makes a great point, but the problem is that I feel like with Shepard there and Victor Cruz, it makes it that much more difficult. Here's a head case, again, as all these guys are, Des Bryant and all these other guys, and they are head cases, and the guy's a stud, and maybe eventually I think he'll turn this around. I don't know how soon it's going to happen. It's going to happen soon enough this year when he's got those other two good receivers on his team. It worries me a lot.
Yeah, I agree with you more than I agree with Big Red. I think this is a moment where he's not the favored child anymore. There are two other guys in New York that can definitely catch the football. Eli is learning to trust them. He's throwing the football. He's going to them. I don't know if OBJ continues to be a head case, I don't know that he gets the targets. And that's what worries me. Targets are everything in fantasy, guys. You know that. We've talked about it on the show over and over again. When OBJ's targets start to go down, that's a time to have him off your team. Canadian Bacon, finish this up.
CB.
I don't get it. I'm with Big Red on this one. He's a stud. I blame more the offensive coordinator. You're not seeing any of the bubble screens you saw last year. You're not seeing any of the short passes. They've more or less turned him into a single route go guy. And that's not what he's supposed to be. This guy is a route runner. He's a get the ball in his hands and let him make a play. I think New York goes to that early this week, gets the ball in his hands early and gets him some confidence. I'm high on OBJ. I think Red hit it right on the head. He's going to have some monster weeks going forward. I don't know how you move him at this point. You're never going to get the value he's going to produce at the rest of the year. You drafted him high. I think you keep him and you roll with it, or you go out and try to target him. If somebody's willing to give you a bottom market value for a top guy, go get him.
Yeah, I really think at this point with OBJ, if you have him, you keep him. I think if you trade him at this point, you're going to lose regardless. You're going to get somebody that's inferior. Guys aren't going to give you a first-round draft pick or a legitimate stud for OBJ. At this point, you roll with him. Hopefully Big Red and Canadian Bacon are correct. The guy turns into a monster the 3/4 of the rest way through. But if you had him at this point, the first quarter of the season, major disappointment out of OBJ. I'm glad I don't have him on my team. Miss Bianca, our next subject.
Waiver targets.
Waiver targets.
Here we got.
Bianca's favorite subject is which guys to get. And that's what we're talking about going forward. Canadian Bacon, CB. I'm going to start with you. Your waiver targets week 5.
I said him 2 weeks ago when Keenan Allen went down. I'll be a Homer Charger fan. Tyrell Williams. The dude is a big body, big wide receiver. Phillips Rivers seems to like him. Phillips Rivers having a huge year. Someone's got to catch the balls there. I think he's a guy you can get in most leagues. I like him.
I picked up Williams 3 weeks ago. I started him this week, and he didn't do much, but I like him going forward. Williams gets the targets.
It does.
And that's what we all agree. If receivers, you have to get the targets. If you get the targets, the production, the touchdowns will come.
And one thing before we move on, it's where he gets targets. He's a 6'4", 6'5" guy. He's getting red zone targets. Not so much, he's not going to rack up 100 yards. He's not going to be that possession wide receiver. But as a flex guy, and that's what you're probably looking for on your waiver pickup, he's a red zone target, and I think he probably scores 6 touchdowns this year, and that's what you're looking for.
Sure. Well, he's not Keenan Allen, but he's not going to be Keenan Allen. Artiste, you're up. Your waiver targets, week 5.
I like Bilal Powell for the Jets. Here's a guy that last week had 9 targets, and he rushed the ball 4 times, which isn't a ton. But here's the thing. I mean, they love him. The Jets love him. Okay, the staff loves him from everything that I've heard. And Forte is going down every week. His percentage, his targets, his percentage, the amount of carries he's had has gone down every week. And the guy's not getting any younger.
Yeah, brother, they're overrun. We talked about there in
right.
the show. I mean, the workload is
Absolutely.
just crazy. Powell just reminds me a little bit, guys, though, of Groundhog Day. I mean, I've heard, because I've been playing fantasy football for 20 years, and I've heard Powell every year, it seems like, for the last 6 years. I mean, and I've never seen him produce. I'm just not a believer.
Right.
I picked him up. I've dropped him. I just don't believe in Powell. So I think Forte has to get healthy for this offense to do anything. I think Forte is still the play. The ankle will get better. It's an ankle. It's not the ACL. It's not something serious. I think the ankle gets better. I think Powell, and I'm not disagreeing with you, Artiste, we'll see going forward. but I'm not as high on Powell as maybe you are, Artis. I think Forte gets healthy, takes the job back. Powell's one of those guys, I've picked him up and I've dropped him too many times. Just not a believer. Big Red.
Yeah, I'm going to give you two names. Both will be available in all of your leagues. James White, who's a running back in New England, and Chris Hogan. Chris Hogan's going to play the Amendola role. Yes, he has looked completely inept with Brisket, or whatever his name is.
Right.
I'm a little hungry, it's late. Okay.
Right.
But with Brady back, if you get open, he's going to find you the ball. I'm pretty sure Doc and Canadian Bacon could run routes with Brady, and he will throw the ball into your chest, and you'll have to catch it. Chris Hogan's a guy who runs fantastic routes. He's going to be on the outside playing that Amendola role. He's maybe not going to get a ton of red zone targets, but this is a guy who's probably going to catch 9-10 balls every game. And with Brady throwing the ball, that's probably 80-90 yards, which if you're getting a guy this late now picking off the waiver wire, 90 yards gets you 9 points a week. He scores a touchdown, that's 15 points. That's wide receiver 2 production. James White, in the meantime, I think LeGarrette Blount's going to drop a little bit. I think Brady's going to be slinging that ball all around. He's going to take over that Woodhead role, the Deion Lewis role. And until he comes back, James White's probably going to get you 5-6 targets out of the backfield. I think this is a fantastic opportunity to buy any Patriots you can. These are the two guys that are out there. I think right now is going to be your last time to buy it because Brady against Cleveland is going to be absolute Armageddon in the city that shall remain unspoken.
No, I like it. I like it, Big Red. I agree with everything you said. Two guys that absolutely you should grab now because they won't be available after the game on Sunday when the Patriots absolutely go nuts. Anybody who doesn't think that Tom Brady isn't going to decimate the league as a personal vendetta and Belichick will let him do it is crazy. This guy's going to put up enormous numbers. So grab the guys now before he does it Sunday. Stack your team with Patriots. Gronk has scored 0 touchdowns through 4 games. There are owners who will peddle him for cheap. Get him now. Because the rest of the season, the guy, in my opinion, guys, Gronk still goes for 9-10 touchdowns this season, and you have him in 12 games. Grab any Patriot you can. I like the call, Big Red. Which, by the way, Canadian Bacon and I would beat any corner in the league outside of Revis Island. He runs like a deer. 9.240.
Right.
So
I'll trick him.
But the bacon smell is so delicious.
Yep.
The corners just lay down and take a nap.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's how it works.
I'm going to trick them into they're going to eat, and then it'll be fine. I'll just
Canadian Bacon runs a
Well done.
9-second 40, but the dock is all the way down to like the 6.6-second 40, so it's all good.
I'm with you.
Brother, we can catch the ball.
coming from the lineman
yeah.
of the table. Come on.
This is
The
a
lineman.
defensive line. Who runs a 30 seconds? It's fine, 30-second 40.
We're talking about 40 steps.
It's more than
It's,
you ran all year.
Touche.
We're not even sure we can beat Bianca in a 40. So, Bianca, come over. We got another subject.
We do. Takeaways.
Guys, we're going to do takeaways. I'm going to run down the aisle. Takeaways, and I'm going to start with the professor. Takeaways, week 4 into week 5.
Right now, Golden Tate sucks. I don't really know how else to put it.
Who's his offensive coordinator?
Mr. Jim Bob Cooter.
Yes!
I did it!
He had it!
Yeah!
Right on time.
But I was off
so
key,
much
though.
volume on this show, you didn't have to wait for that. It was right there.
I was off key, though.
It doesn't matter. You didn't have to wait for it. That's what we deliver. High quality, people. High quality.
That's why you watch this show, that kind of shit.
Right there.
Right?
He was right on the money. Professor, finish up, please. Takeaways.
Golden Tate, until he starts producing, until he starts doing something, leave him on your bench. There's really no reason to play him. AJ Green, as you mentioned earlier, before the season started, absolute stud. You're going to start him every game. I don't care what the matchup is. I don't care if he's getting triple teamed. You're going to play AJ Green. I guess from there, OBJ, we kind of talked about him. He is a clown. He should come out of it, but it's just a matter of time. We'll see what happens down the road.
Are you a little concerned? I know the rest of the panel is saying if you can buy OBJ, you buy him. Are you a little concerned with OBJ going forward, Professor? Your opinion is the one that I respect everybody here, but I really listen to your input. What do you think about OBJ? Does he recover from this, or?
I really don't think he does. I mean, not because, he is a talented receiver, but I just think he's got other weapons there that are taken away from him, and I think they're more reliable. And I just think that he's just he's fallen off. He's fallen out of favor.
I agree with you. Every receiver is only as good as the quarterback believes you are. And when you start losing targets, you cannot be productive in any capacity. And that's what worries me in New York, Professor. I'm worried that Eli Manning has had enough with the head case. He has two other talented wide receivers, and he's starting to spread the ball. And OBJ isn't getting the looks that he once has, and you're going to see the tantrums, I think, increase. OBJ is a pass for me the rest of the season. If I had him, I would try to trade him now before his value falls even further and try to get somebody for him. Big Red, your takeaways, week 4.
Yeah, again, we're going to circle back. We're going to call it the Dick in the Dirt pick of the weeks. These are guys that if you're stuck and absolutely have to pick somebody up, maybe you think that you're going to have Simeon and you don't want to pick up Lynch. I really like Flacco. We talked about him earlier this week, earlier this show. He's averaging, Washington's given up 300 yards a game. He's got some fantastic weapons. I'm not dead yet, Steve Smith coming out of nowhere. He's got Wallace. They've got Dixon.
Wait,
as
did you just say Steve Smith?
The Steve Smith Sr.
Senior? But I'm not dead yet.
That's right. You know what? He's still looking good. You've also got...
Oh, I'm sorry.
Again. You've got DeAndre Washington.
We've been waiting all show to do those two bits, guys.
My bad.
We're going to use them as much as we can.
It is the whole I'm not dead yet.
Absolutely.
I can't believe the guy's still playing. Okay.
I'm a big fan this week. DeAndre Washington against San Diego. I think Latavius Murray is out this week. You're going to have some options with DeAndre Washington. I think this is probably the week. We've talked about it a couple shows ago. This is probably the week that he takes over going forward. And lastly, if you were looking at some wide receivers, I really like Devontae Parker. He's got some huge upside over there in Tennessee. He's got a low floor. There's a chance he catches one ball, but if you're swinging for the fences, there's a good chance he's getting 70 yards and 2 touchdowns. Adam Gase has already talked about force feeding him the ball. This is the week to go and get him because this is the week he blows up. You're never getting another chance.
Yeah, and actually the last 3 weeks we've talked about getting Devontae Parker as an up-and-comer. He was a guy, if you haven't stashed him, pay more attention to the show, guys. This is why we do this. Devontae Parker should be on your stash list. I think Devontae Parker not only has upside this week, but I think he's going to be great the rest of the season. You brought up Latavius Murray, and I want to touch on him for a moment. Are you buying Latavius the rest of the way? Because that is a running back by committee there in Oakland.
The hard part is if you're sitting in a league and he's your flex play, he's scoring every single week. So if I know that I'm getting 6 points plus some yardage out of a guy every week, you're loving that. My concern is that DeAndre Washington and the other guy they have there, they're going to start taking these carries and they're not going to look back. Latavius Murray has looked average even though he's scoring. And he's seen his carries decrease every week. I just don't see it rebounding this week, and especially with the injury, I think this is one of those deals where it takes 3 or 4 weeks to heal because they like DeAndre Washington.
Yeah, Latavius Murray, guys, is somebody that I would personally trade. If he's on your team, see if you can get some value and shuffle this guy. His yards per carry is poor. He has scored some red zone touchdowns, but now with the injury and he's had decreasing touches every week, this is a guy you don't want on your roster going forward. I know he was a top 3 round draft pick going in, but this is a guy you want off your team. If you can unload Latavius Murray for any value, do it now, because I think the rest of the way, Latavius Murray is going to be a huge disappointment. Artis, your takeaways, week 4.
Well, this might be a little bit out there, but permission for a small rant?
Granted.
Granted. Thank you very much. So, Eric Ebron. Let's talk about Eric Ebron a little bit. Here's a guy that people love. People love Eric Ebron. I feel like. I'm not a big fan. Well, okay, listen. All right, let me take that back. Let me take that back. We're from the Detroit area. We're Lions fans, or try to be. In this area, people love Eric Ebron. Okay? Let me put that a little bit better.
I'm still for the rant.
The rant is just that I can't stand the guy. The guy sucks.
I don't love it.
I understand that, but people
Big
do
red
around
team,
here.
Eric Ebron?
He's Mr.
My
Potential.
question is, do I have time to go to the bathroom while this rant gets started?
Wah. The point is this. No, he listen. People around here love him. He's Mr. Potential. What did we draft from, number 10 or whatever? Like
One
about
pick
2 or
in front
3
of
rounds.
OBJ.
Listen. I understand that across the country people don't love him, but I do see him rated at like number frickin' 10 and shit like that. Like on the number 10 tight end for the day. You watch ESPN and shit. Oh, Eric Ebron's number 10.
I've seen
Eric
much
Ebron
higher than
sucks.
that.
Yeah, and he sucks. I'm sorry. The guy, he can't catch. Listen, with Eric Ebron, he reminds me of an old, worn-out jockstrap. Okay, he's close to a dick, and he has no ball security.
Hey.
Okay.
It's okay.
So,
it's okay.
I'm just saying.
Okay. It is
That's,
okay.
That's my point. I mean, the guy, he can't catch a damn thing. Can't catch a colt. So, I mean, I'm just saying. So, but people love this guy. People think this guy's amazing. And I can't take it anymore. But anyway, whatever. We'll go move on.
Okay. Well, that ended better than I thought it would. Bianca had the fire hose just off camera.
I was ready. He's a little heated over here.
Sure,
I gotta diffuse the situation.
Yeah. It rants or gets the hose again. Canadian Bacon finishes up. Takeaways week 4.
Guys, it's finally here. It's Tom Brady week. It is Tom Brady week.
Everyone's super excited.
For
to hear
those
that.
of us who took Tom Brady and tried to get to 2-2 for the first 4 weeks, this is our week.
I think Bianca's more excited than you are that Tom Brady's.
She
gonna
could
like
be.
them Uggs?
football again.
She could be. But this is the week. He gets Cleveland. He's going to bitch slamp the league for the rest of the week, the rest of the year. This is great. I can't wait. I want to see him throw for 6 touchdowns, 450 against Cleveland because they're awful. I just love it. I can't wait. I'm waiting for Sunday afternoon because I want to turn on the game and watch Tom Brady just go,
Nuts.
Roger Goodell.
And I agree with you, CB. I think Tom Brady goes nuts the rest of the year. We talked about it in the show a month before the season
matchup.
started, even in drafts. We talked about grab Tom Brady. We're all really high on him. I think he's going to go crazy the rest of the year. It is something that he's going to step forward and make a point. Belichick's going to let him make the point. The guy goes nuts, and he couldn't have a better matchup
To come back.
coming back. You heard it here first. I'm going to back up CB. I think the guy has 6 touchdowns this week. I think it's gaudy. I don't think they ever take the foot off the gas. I think they beat Cleveland 65-2. I think it gets ugly.
They get the safety.
I think Belichick wants it that way. I know Brady wants it that way. I think a lot of the fans want it that way. Roger Goodell definitely does not want it that way.
Wow,
And
that's
they
a lot of
will
Backstreet Boys.
Rub it in. So guys, thanks for tuning in this week. We're really happy to be through a quarter of the season. Hopefully our advice has helped you. We can go back through. Next week we're going to have a little wrap up on our hits and misses. We've had way more hits than misses, which is why you should watch this show. We're going to continue to study so you don't have to. For the professor, Big Red, the beautiful Miss Bianca, the doc, the artiste, Canadian Bacon, win a championship, guys. Good luck.
Fellas. Here's the Ebron.